ورسوله نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين أما بعد. What we're going to benefit بإذن الله سبحانه وتعالى tonight from is a book called أخلاق العلماء, the characteristics of the ulama, the characteristics of those who are described of having an abundance of ilm, an abundance of ilm. أخلاق العلماء, the do's and the don'ts of those who wish to seek knowledge, those who are seeking knowledge, and those who have been tested and afflicted with being from among the people who have achieved something, reached some type of goal, and have some type of considerable ilm. Everybody understand this? All of the phases. Those who are aspiring, those who are actually seeking ilm in the middle of it, and those, whether they're ulama, mashayikh, imams, du'at, tulab al-ilm, students of knowledge, who have some type of knowledge with them. And they have something, as we say, under their belts. Everybody understand this? All of these people, men and women, are in need of these akhlaq, these characteristics, these do's and these don'ts, let alone of being reminded of the virtue of knowledge, the superiority of knowledge, the excellence of knowledge. A constant reminder is needed in light of the storm and the torrent of worldly things that are hurled at you. Things that you hear, things that you see, things that you go through, things that happen to you walking down the street, driving in your car, your phone, all of the things that are launched at you at rapid speed that take you away from Allah's dhikr, that take you away from the path of Allah, and also take you away from the concept of ilm, of knowledge. So everybody is in need of this on one level or another. On one level or another. Hopefully that's clear. As far as the book, or the reason why we're choosing this book, then in the masjids and the centers on the channel, walillahi alhamd, we have done many classes, lectures, 5 minutes of fa'idas, Q&A sessions, just on the concept of seeking knowledge, just on the concept of seeking ilm, to professionally seek ilm, systematically seek ilm, taking it to a different level, a new plateau, thinking outside of the box, quote unquote. And for those who don't know, hadith disciple, walillahi alhamd, this is from the guiding principles of hadith disciple. Is one of the main themes of hadith disciple is seeking knowledge and talking about how to seek knowledge in the correct way, how to do it in the right way, and how not to do it in the wrong way. Everybody understand this? From the things, not the only thing, but from the things that we try to focus on, one of the main themes is talab al-ilm, seeking knowledge. And the more we talk about this, and the better we understand it, the quicker, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, it will spring forth to the other fields of Islam, in theory and in practice. In theory and in practice. Everybody understand this? We don't go too far. We don't have a lot of time right now, but theory and practice. We start talking about the masjids, the different people in the masjids, what they do. This masjid has bid'ah. I don't pray here. I don't go here. I want to give da'wah to my people, my non-Muslim family members, so on and so on and so forth. It all springs forth from ilm. The more ilm you have, the more proper understanding you have, the easier it is for you to talk and to call and to invite and to explain and also refute when you need to refute. Everybody understand this? The more knowledge that you have, and not just knowledge meaning pieces of information, statements that you've heard, hadiths that you've heard. We're talking about you being a professional, well-trained talib al-ilm. That's what we mean. The more thorough your training, the better it is, bi'idhnillah, for you to perform your task and your duty of calling people to Allah, of rectifying, of reforming, and of also defending Allah's deen when you have to. And the less ilm that you have, the less systematic, proper training that you have, the sloppier your da'wah will be. The sloppier your refutations will be. The sloppier your call to Allah will be. And the less people, and Allah knows best, will listen to you. Or if many people listen to you, it's not going to be something that's solid and concrete. Something that you can build on when you go, when you pass, when you leave. You leave the center. You've made, bi'idhnillah, an effect upon people, an impact. Everybody understand this? So this is very important for those who call to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the book is called Akhlaqul Ulama. And the first time that we tapped into this power source and gave some fa'idah therefrom to the listeners in English and also those who speak Arabic was in Minneapolis, Minnesota, about maybe 4 years ago, 3 to 4 summers ago. It was the first annual journey of knowledge. Okay, and we gave a 20-minute, 15-minute fa'idah from this book, Akhlaqul Ulama, Akhlaq of Tulab al-Ilm and of Ulama. And also the layman Muslim, the 9 to 5 Muslim, needs these things, as we have explained. Many of the etiquettes of the students of knowledge are nothing more than the etiquettes of Islam. But the student of knowledge is supposed to be elite. He's supposed to be better. He's supposed to be on a higher level than the average. But there are many of us, may Allah hide our thoughts, who feel and who think or who practice that seeking ilm isn't the basics of Islam. A talib al-ilm doesn't have to have the basics locked down. How can you be a student of knowledge and you have a problem with lying? That's a problem. A Muslim, no Muslim should lie. No Muslim should have any problem with lying. Kaif, yani. 5 daily prayers in 1 day. Lowering your gaze and all different things like this. These are basic etiquettes of every single Muslim that we find among many people who attribute themselves to knowledge and ilm and dawah. They're faulty therein. They're faulty in those things. Unfortunately, may Allah hide our thoughts. You may travel with a brother, you hear him say something, and you find out it's a lie. You travel with a brother, you see him looking around at women, not lowering his gaze. You travel with a brother, he doesn't make 5 prayers in 1 day. Okay. You travel with someone, and a person is extremely stingy. He's extremely greedy. And he's a student of knowledge, a graduate. Or maybe someone who's called a scholar. And he doesn't have the basic etiquettes of Islam locked down. So seeking ilm and the etiquettes of seeking ilm, we say, and initially are no more than the what? Basics of Islam. As we make comparisons and consistencies with regards to sports. A championship boxer is no one more than someone who's what? He's locked down to what? Fundamentals of boxing. He's mastered them. And then on top of those fundamentals, he what? Has exotic things with him. Some special things with him. Faster, quicker, stronger. He's trained. He's developed some personal techniques of his own. But he's not sloppy in anything that's what? Anything basic. Anything fundamental. Everybody understand this? So how do we expect to win the World Heavyweight Championship and we can't even throw a basic jab? We don't know the basics of footwork. We don't know the basics of defense. Something's seriously wrong. And I'm speaking to myself firstly and all of us. Everybody clear on this? So we always need these types of books and lectures. We study the hadiths. We study Kitab al-Iman. We study the fiqh, book of marriage and things like this. And we also go back to the what? The basics and more. And as a fa'idah for every talib al-ilm, every time you wish to study a book on talib al-ilm, the adab of talib al-ilm, a new book that you study, you should try to first and foremost make sure that you remind yourself of what you already studied, recover the ground, and every time you overlap and add a layer to what you already learned, it becomes what? Stronger. We went over it in another book. We took it in another chapter. We did it in another class. And now I hear it again, but from another source. Everybody, the brain has different waves, different frequencies. The heart has different channels that you may not get it the first time. You may not get it the second time. Or you may have gotten it, but you hear it again, and now it's what? Solid. Everybody clear on this? And also, you should try to get at least one gem from every new book. At least one, let alone 10 or 20 or 30. Something special that's in Akhlaq al-Ulama, that's not in the book Fadl al-Ilm al-Salaf ala Ilm al-Khalaf, Ibn Rajab. One fa'idah that I didn't get in the 40 hadith on seeking knowledge that we didn't get from another book. Everybody understand this? Wallahu ta'ala alam. That's in brief, because it's a whole long lecture in itself. This book is written by Abu Bakr Muhammad ibn al-Husayn al-Ajurri, rahimahullah ta'ala. Abu Bakr Muhammad ibn al-Husayn al-Ajurri. And he died in the year 360 of the Hijrah. So from the benefits of the book is that it's early. It was over 1,000 years ago this book was written. It's a long time ago. So it's considered to be an ancient classic. An ancient classic. And the general concept of the talib al-ilm, not all of the time, but in general, is the older the better. They say an oldie but a goodie. Something that has withstood the test of time. Everybody understand this? It's classic. Before the different problems and the fitnas that happened to the Muslim ummah. and may have changed some of the understandings of some people, the interpretations of some people, the agendas of some people. He was over 1,000 years ago. This problem that we're facing now, he didn't hear anything about. So it had nothing to do with his writing style. Everybody understand this? He's not going to write in a apologetic manner. He's not having an agenda to a group or a sect or a jama'ah, as you're going to get possibly from a scholar who was alive today. He was totally free from all these different groups and problems that we have today. Everybody understand this? So the older that you go, the better. Bi-idhnillahi ta'ala. Seeking the knowledge of the classic ulama, the righteous predecessors, not just in aqidah, but in anything else, in hadith, in fiqh, and the list goes on. We spoke on this before. So whenever you find an old book on seeking ilm that's written years ago, it's something that you want to obtain, keep in your library, read and study it. Bi-idhnillahi subhanahu wa ta'ala. Khairan, inshallah. So if you get a chance to read his biography, inshallah, that's good. For lack of time, we're not going to mention too much right now. He died year 360. Bi-idhnillahi ta'ala, go back and read about him. Imam Abu Bakr al-Ajurri, rahimahullah ta'ala. He says, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, Alhamdulillahi alladhi bi ni'matihi tatimmu salihat, wa sallallahu ala sayyidina Muhammadin al-Nabiy al-Ummi wa alihi wa sallam. وآله وسلم وبالله أستعين وحسبي الله ونعم الوكيل أما بعد فإن الله عز وجل وتقدست أسماؤه اختص من خلقه من أحب فهداهم للإيمان ثم اختص من سائر المؤمنين من أحب فتفضل عليهم فعلمهم الكتاب والحكمة وفقههم في الدين وعلمهم التأويل وفضلهم على سائر المؤمنين وذلك في كل زمان وأوان ورفعهم بالعلم وزينهم بالحلم بهم يعرف الحلال من الحرام والحق من الباطل والضار من النافع والحسن من القبيح فضلهم عظيم وخطرهم جزيل ورثة الأنبياء وقرة عين الأولياء الحيتان في البحار لهم تستغفر والملائكة بأجنحتها لهم تخضع والعلماء في القيامة بعد الأنبياء تشفع مجالسهم تفيد الحكمة وبأعمالهم ينزجر أهل الغفلة هم أفضل من العباد وأعلى درجة من الزهاد حياتهم غنيمة وموتهم مصيبة. طيب, he says here, Alhamdulillah, praising Allah Azza wa Jal, lauding Him, the one through all righteous deeds, and by Him all righteous deeds are completed and finished. In other words, without Allah, there's nothing that's going to be good, nothing that's going to be complete and perfect without Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So he praises Him for that. He sends prayers and salutations upon Muhammad sallallahu, his family members, his companions to proceed. He says, وَبِاللَّهِ أَسْتَعِينَ, I seek help in Allah. وَحَسْبِيَ اللَّهُ وَنِعْمَ الْوَكِيلُ, and Allah is more than enough for me, more than enough for you, more than enough for us. And He is the best one to put and place your trust in, subhanahu wa ta'ala. To proceed, he says, فَإِنَّ اللَّهَ عَزَّ وَجَلَ, indeed Allah, the Sublime and the Exalted, He who has the most lofty and beautiful names, He chose certain servants. He selected a few of His slaves, man ahabba, those whom He loves, and He guided them to Iman. That's every Muslim, every single Muslim. He made them believers. He chose them from among Allah alam how many human beings that He created, and He guided them to the deen. That's first and foremost. After that, He chose another group, another batch of His believing slaves, and He gave them a higher degree and level of virtue, and that's ilm. Everybody understand this? The Muslims as a whole, and then among the Muslims, those who have what? Ilm, knowledge. Everybody understand this? And you see how he's starting off his book, Nafis, by talking about the asl, the foundation, and the spirituality of everything. What's the big deal of seeking knowledge, going overseas, studying Arabic, this class? What's the big deal? Why? Everybody understand this? It's much deeper than just that which is on the surface. It's much deeper than that which seems to be superficial. It's deeper than that. It's something that's really, really deep. And that is, when you have knowledge, it's a sign that Allah wants good for you. It's a sign that Allah chose you and selected you. Obviously, the level of knowledge is relative. There are some people that you may look up to and say, you know, I have nothing, I have no ilm. And then there's some individuals you come across that have nothing of ilm. They don't have a clue. So be grateful for what Allah has given you. And whenever you're dissatisfied, as the wise man once said, he says, then you're on the what? You're on the right path. As long as you're not pleased with what you have, then that's a sign that you're what? You're on the right track. The moment you say, oh, I have ilm, I'm satisfied, I learned, I studied, know for sure that you've what? Your train has become what? Derailed. No doubt about that. The moment you scorn yourself, I don't have enough, I don't understand enough, I need to study more, know for sure that you're what? You're on the right track. Because that is going to produce that continuous hunger to keep learning and to keep studying. And that's the true master. The true master never stops learning and studying. I've graduated, I went overseas, I had ijazah, I was here, I was there, and he still reads, he still studies, he continues to benefit. And when he's among his students, his disciples, what do? Debate, they argue. They're in the dojo. It's not just listen to me and let me talk. Read, what do you think? Give me a fight. Everybody understand this? They're always mixing it up because that's a means of practice. That's a means of review, and also it's a means of getting a faida from your student. So that's the true talib al-ilm, is he who never ever stops learning. He who never ever stops teaching. He who never ever stops polishing and sharpening his blade that he forged. It's forged already. You don't have a whole lifetime to forge your blade. You have responsibilities, you have family, but you always continue to sharpen it and polish it. And the good quality still is going to remain what? Good quality still. Everybody understand this? This is very important for us to understand this. Everybody, khairan inshallah. So that's first and foremost, that the people of knowledge are chosen by Allah. The Muslims are what? Chosen by Allah. The knowledgeable Muslims are what? Chosen by Allah. Everybody understand this? Among the Muslims, those who follow the Sunnah are also وَهَكَذَا. He then says, so he gave them preference and virtue by teaching them the book and the Sunnah, by teaching them the Kitab and the Hikmah, the book and the wisdom, the Quran and the Prophet ﷺ Sunnah. And he also gave them fiqh of the deen, fiqh fi deen, not just halal and haram, Shafi'i, Abu Hanifa, Malik, Ahmed, no. Fiqh fi deen, meaning understanding of life, wisdom, what to say, when to say it, how to say it. The true alim is he who knows when to keep silent, how long to keep silent, and why he's remaining silent. Everybody understand this? As one of the righteous ulama of the past said, he said, it took me 2 years to learn how to speak, and it took me 40 years to learn how to remain from speaking. 2 years to learn how to talk, 40 years to learn how not to talk. Hikmah. Everybody understand this? Hikmah. When to remain silent. And when to what? Speak. When to take a position, when not to take a position. Everybody understand this? What to teach and when not to teach. Let alone the actual fiqh. Is it permissible for a woman to wear green outside? Can I wipe over silk socks? Can I sleep on my stomach? Everybody understand this? Is it permissible for me to shave my mustache? Is it permissible to have stocks and bonds? Any issue of halal and haram. Any issue of what? Halal and haram. The actual fiqh. So Allah Azza wa Jalla, He gave them virtue by teaching them this. وَعَلَّمُهُمُ التَّأْوِيلِ. And He also taught them the proper interpretation. The ta'wil of the kitab and the ta'wil of the sunnah. What does this verse mean and what doesn't it mean? When was it sent down? Why was it sent down? There's no contradiction. There's no clash. This ayah pertains to this battle. This ayah is general. Ta'wil. The proper tafsir of the kitab. He then says, وَفَضَّلَهُمْ عَلَى سَائِرِ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ. And He gave them a high rank over the rest of the believers. وَذَلِكَ فِي كُلِّ زَمَانٍ وَأَوَانٍ. And that is in every time and era. There is not a time in which there isn't going to be someone like this that Allah has chosen, whether they're a lot or whether they're a few. Whether they're more concentrated in one place, one country, or whether they're spread out. But there's going to be someone like this in every time, he says. He then says, once again, وَرَفَعَهُمْ بِالْعِلْمِ. He extolled them with knowledge. And He has adorned them. He has beautified them with hilm, with forbearance. Allahu Akbar. They're tolerant. They just don't have knowledge, but they're what? They're tolerant. They're patient upon those who are ignorant. Upon those who may not know and realize and acknowledge their true status and their true worth. They're forbearing and they're tolerant upon the harms and the sacrifices of learning and teaching. Physical sickness, physical illness, sadness, family problems, financial problems. This person, this friend stabbed me in the back. This person is jealous and envious, so on and so forth. He's what? They have forbearance. They're tolerant. So if you don't have forbearance and you have knowledge, then you're not upon the way of these individuals. You're not upon their way. You must have what? Ilm and hilm. Everybody understand this? You have to be forbearant upon anything that comes your way in this long, burdensome path. He then says, rahimahullah, بِهِمْ يُعْرَفُ الْحَلَالُ مِنَ الْحَرَامِ. With them and through them, the halal is known from the, you know the right from the wrong through these individuals. And the truth from the falsehood. The beneficial from the harmful. That which is good and great, and that which is foul and bad. Their virtue is tremendous, and they have a very serious position in the deen. Whereas they are the waratha, they are the heirs of the prophets. And they are the splendor of the chosen slaves of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The fish in the sea seek forgiveness for them, and the angels lower their wings for them. And on the day of judgment, the ulama will be after the anbiya with regards to intercession. When you sit with them, you learn. He says, hikmah, tufidul hikmah, you learn wisdom. And when they do things, the people who are heedless and forgetful, they wake up. They're woken up. Everybody understand this? When a person is continually involved in ilm and learning and studying and teaching, it's just certain things that he's not going to forget about. Certain things that he's not going to fall into. Bi-idhnillahi subhanahu wa ta'ala. Everybody understand this? It's from the signs of good, strong deen is that you're close to knowledge in the circles of knowledge. I don't understand everything. I don't get everything. I may be tired, I may be young, I may be old, I may be. But I'm going to continually sit and learn from these classes and benefit and just be around the believers. Everybody understand this? He says, rahimahullah ta'ala, they are better than the ubad, those who are driven to abundant worship. In other words, if you had a choice between making the extra supererogatory prayers and reading and studying, you would take reading and studying. Not saying that you shouldn't do the supererogatory prayers. Not saying that you shouldn't do ibadah. But if it was an issue in which you didn't have time for what? For both. You would give precedence to the knowledge. And he also says what? That those people who are naturally inclined towards ilm more than ibadah. In other words, you say about someone, this person, fulan is mujahid. That doesn't mean that he doesn't make salat. That doesn't mean that he doesn't have knowledge. It doesn't mean that he doesn't spend in Allah's cause. But his strong point and the thing he's most well known for is jihad. Fulanun alim. So-and-so is an alim. It doesn't mean that he's not a mujahid. It doesn't mean that he's not an abid. It doesn't mean that he's not kareem, spending. But the thing that he's most known for is wahakada. Fulan is a very generous man. He's also a strong man, a handsome man. He's this, he's that, so on and so forth. But he's well known for spending. Wahakada. He then says, rahimahullah, وَعَلَى دَرْجَةً مِنَ الزُّهَّادِ. And they're also higher and better, more virtuous than the zuhad. Those people who are prone to zuhd, to divorcing the pleasures of the worldly life and abandoning the unnecessary things from the hayatul dunya. Abandoning the unnecessary things from the hayatul dunya. Their life, he says, ghanima, is a sweet opportunity. And when they die, it's a musibah. It's a calamity. They also give reminder to the heedless. يُذَكِّرُونَ الْغَافِلِ وَيُعَلِّمُونَ الْجَاهِلِ. Khairan inshallah. Bi-idhnillahi ta'ala, we want to stop here tonight, whereas we're running a bit short on time. If you have the ability to come to Masjid Taqwa, if you don't have the ability, then at least join us online. Bi-idhnillahi ta'ala. Hopefully we can take a few questions, and if not, Allah surely knows best. Jazakumullahu khairan for your time. You ready, Abu Naila?
No questions.
Fadl Sharif.
Sheikh, what's the ruling on open casket?
Open casket?
Yeah. For a funeral?
People seeing the body?
Yeah, for like the immediate family, or like having it open for like, you know, press.
General viewing.
Ty. Question says, what is the ruling on an open casket funeral or a general ruling, family viewing, etc.? Allah the Exalted says, Al-yawma akmaltu lakum dinakum. On this day I perfected for you your religion. وَأَتْمَمْتُ عَلَيْكُمْ نِعْمَتِي وَرَضِيتُ لَكُمُ الْإِسْلَامَ دِينًا. I've completed my favor upon you, and I've chosen Islam as your deen. So that which Islam teaches us and instructs us, that's what we should do. What did the Prophet ﷺ do with his Sahaba, his family members that passed away? What did the companions do with the Prophet ﷺ? The one who was most beloved. And they were most grief-stricken and saddened by his leaving and parting of this world. ﷺ. Did they do an open funeral viewing? Were all of the Sahaba allowed to see him? ﷺ? Everybody understand this? So the concept of the deceased, what does the deceased looks like, his face, his eyes, her face, her eyes, and things like this, these are generally considered to be an amana. They're generally considered to be a what? An amana. And this is why everybody's not to wash the body, because you don't know how the person died and what they look like and what state they're in. So if everybody is shown, then that hikmah goes totally down the drain. Let alone the fact that that's not from the way of the believers. What happens when a person is in open casket? What happens, yani? Family viewing. Is it haram for one person to see the body? Didn't say that. For some close family members to see the body before the final shrouding? Didn't necessarily say that. But for everybody to sit and walk past and see the person before they put into the grave. Is that the way of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Let alone the fact that it's a means of delaying. Asri'u bil jinaza. Or kama qala alayhi sallam hadith Abi Hurairah in the Sahih. He said, hasten the janaza. Hasten the janaza. Rush forth. Don't waste unnecessary what? Time. The concept of the funeral is no different than the concept of a marriage, unfortunately, in which many times there's so many foreign influences and alien ideologies that take precedence over Muhammad's way. Muhammad's way, how he got married, how his walima was, how his funeral was. Not saying that that's haram to do other, as long as the Prophet didn't specifically speak about it. But just the concept of I'm American first, then Muslim. Instead of Muslim, then American. Everybody understand this? Or some people say I'm Caribbean first, then I'm Muslim. And it should be the what? The exact opposite. Everybody understand this? Muslim first, Islam, Sunnah, then other cultural practices, as long as they do not go against the what? The way of Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam. And even if it's not haram or doesn't go away, but just the concept of letting those things creep in and seep in. Open casket, we eat the cake together, we do this, we do that, we do this, we do that. Then next thing you know, you start compromising your values, become weaker and weaker, and become further from the deen and the sunnah and the simplicity, and closer to this culture or that culture from the east or from the west. So that's very important for us to be mindful of. Wallahu ta'ala alam. Hopefully that's clear. Tafadhal.
What's the rule on women going to the graves?
Question says, what's the ruling on a woman going to the graves? There's two concepts here. The first is following the procession, and the second is going to visit the graves. We say that that which is safest for the layman Muslim is to avoid it. Avoid the procession and avoid visiting the graves for a female. And that is because the ulama who say that it is haram, especially visiting the graves, they say it's from the major sins. They say it's from the major sins. And the other ulama who say that it isn't haram and it's permissible, they just say it's permissible. So one statement says major sin, and another statement says permissible. Obviously, you're not going to, if you don't have that much knowledge, do something that's permissible at risk of falling into something that could possibly be a major sin. So that's the safest thing for the layman, Muslim or Muslimah, to do and to practice. As far as the strongest view, what of the two madhabs is stronger, that's a different story. That's a different story. Me personally, I don't feel that it's haram for a Muslim woman to go to the graveyards. And we feel that those hadith in which the Prophet ﷺ mentions that they are cursed, we don't feel that they're necessarily authentic. Everybody understand this? Those ulama hold the view that it's what? Permissible. And women fall under the generality of كنت قد نهيتكم عن زيارة القبور فزوروها فإنها تذكركم الآخرة بل قال الله عز وجل في محكم التنزيل ألهاكم التكاثر حتى زرتم المقابر. We say, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala surely knows best, the ulama who say that women fall under the generality of the Prophet ﷺ statement, there was a time in which I forbade you from visiting the graves. But now visit them because they remind you of death. Rather, Allah says that you are preoccupied by the mutual piling up and stacking up of the dunya until you visit the graves. Women, are they not victims of the dunya? Rather, they may be worse victims of the worldly life. Jewelry, shoes, pocketbooks, earrings, lipstick, perfume, clothes, house, this, that. Is this not the case? Women oftentimes don't go to the masjid, don't go to Jumu'ah. Women oftentimes, not all of the time, but in most cases, those who are actually studying and learning are who? The men. And many women, for one reason or another, they feel they don't have to learn, they don't have to study. They're exempt from being tulab al-ilm. So from this aspect, a woman could be at more danger of what? Of takafur, than the men. So this is just something to think about. Wallahu ta'ala alam.